Okay, we back. Part two.
Yes, sir.
And before we get started, gotta shout out Aki too. Let's get it.
Aki 2 in the building. Purified, as clean as it can be. That's what we need to be on, bro.
Exactly.
Look, there's that option of getting that 40-cent water bottles.
Yeah.
They got all types of of foolishness. It says purified, but it kind of tastes like toilet water. Like, that ain't this.
Exactly. Let's make
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Sebi proud.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll take it. Cause I'm thirsty, so I'm not
Yes,
gonna lie.
sir.
For the cameras. Love it. Okay, let's get it. All right, part two.
Yes, sir.
Yo, if y'all haven't seen part one, please go watch part one. We kind of left off on you explaining dimensions.
Yes, sir.
And how I'm not even gonna try to summarize it, but I'm gonna state what really, well, among many things that triggered something in me. But when you were talking about how, to a degree, humans these days, we live in the third dimension.
Right.
Strictly.
Right.
It really reminds me of the part in Revelations where it describes 666 as being the mark of the beast.
I'm glad you remembered. Come on. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because when I think of 666, I don't get like, oh, spooky, the devil. I think about the physical makeup of man.
Yes,
6
sir.
protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons. So when I think about that being the makeup of the physical man, and I think about what you were saying in the third dimension and how, like, it's almost as if these days the majority of humans are just trapped there. There's no even understanding of this higher dimension. I think to myself, there's a correlation there in how, like, I feel like 666, that really kind of represents like the worshiping of the flesh, just all things flesh and not going to things of the spirit. Because
Absolutely.
what I love about this conversation is how you're giving me so much from the Nation of Islam, and like I said, I just grew up. It was such a fearful thing to me,
Right.
and so most of my understanding comes from the Bible and Christianity.
Right.
But like now that I've broken out of like the religious side and gotten into like the occult wisdom of the Bible, and you know the spiritual, the I feel like the real meanings of Scripture and the real Holy Spirit and the real Christ consciousness and those things. When I think about like how Christ always stressed, don't be doing shit of the flesh, do things of the spirit.
Yes, sir.
So when I think about the fourth dimension, and you kept mentioning the word govern, what governs this third dimension? I'm like, yo, this sounds exactly like what Jesus was saying.
Yes, sir.
And well, yeah, because that was him that was talking to Revelations in the revelation that
Right.
John was having. I really feel like that's what Satan is. I feel like Satan is at its core the concept of falling in love with this physical space.
Yes, sir.
As if me doing this isn't ran by something that isn't physical.
Right. Right.
You really got me thinking. I took a long walk. I told you I was going to the bathroom. I went to the bathroom, but I took a walk and I thought to myself, I'm like, I'm perplexed, but in a good way. Cause I'm like, I feel like you just like freed my mind.
All
And-
praise due to Allah, bro.
Yo, like, yeah, man.
Man.
Yeah. I don't even know where to go with this, but yeah, like, I just that 666, it makes a lot of sense to me now.
Yes, sir.
It really, I feel like that's, and I don't know if that was the intention of John writing that in Revelations, but you know, those who have ears to hear, you know.
Man, here. Man, I get a lot of my study is rooted in the Bible specifically, because in the teachings of the Nation of Islam, like Master Farrakhan Muhammad, he has a saying where he said, "Look into your problem book or your poison book." In the problem book, he said, "Look into your poison book." And when he said the phrase poison book, he's referring to the Bible. But check this. It can feel offensive, but the point is any medicine in the wrong amount. Look, cocaine is medicine, man. Any medicine in the wrong amount is poison. And so he requires that we study what the Bible is because, bro, we all have it. And it's a means of communication for our people spiritually. So how you going to come with some Arabic translated Quran talking about Allah to black people in America who don't say that? They don't know. I don't speak Arabic, you know.
Right.
I was colonized and raped and oppressed by these English people who spoke English, you know? So it's a responsibility for me to study the Bible in order to actually study Islam because it's a study of everything. It's life. It's how you live. And again, that's how I come up. So I have to understand who Jesus is in the context of the Bible. Jesus is also very, very thoroughly discussed in the Quran. And I mean, they talk about his mother more than any other woman in the Quran. It's Mary. Like,
really,
he's a very important person. So this whole Jesus thing is really the core of understanding our responsibilities as human beings, no matter where we go in the world of revelation to mankind. It's just a matter of what are you calling it? I mean, because nobody was saying Jesus. Right. Obviously.
The letter J wasn't.
But also, it's not obvious to a lot of us. So it's like, I mean, ain't nobody, like, nobody was saying Jesus. Nobody. So it's one of those things where if you really look at the definition, we've been saying Jesus for a long time because it's a title to really carry out as people that are created. It's a thing you're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be in alignment with God. We're supposed to be these sacrificial lambs, if you will. Our life isn't for us. It's supposed to be that way. But then we got into this other thing. So when it comes to the devil, man, I agree with you. I agree with you. And there's a piece that is in the teachings in the Nation of Islam where we get an understanding of where the devil that we're dealing with in modern times came from and how it was created. And so you hear this phrase, you didn't ask me about this at all. So wait, do you have a question you wanted to ask first?
Oh, no, that was more of a statement of like a revelation.
All praise due to Allah. I say that a lot these days. Because it's like everything is like that. I mean, when stuff be going down, when I say all praise is due to Allah, I'm just literally saying thank God, but in the way that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I use the word Allah. Let's go here real quick. I like to use the word Allah instead of God now, because for me personally, and this was in Message to the Black Man, it made me really, really think again when I read this. It's less dirtied. Because like when I think about the word God from a etymology standpoint and just really like from a social context, the last time I heard God was when one of my family members said God D word, which is earlier today. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I'm saying we be and it's not, bro. It's a function of the world we live in. White folk done drugged the God thing through the mud, bro. They was using God to justify beating and raping us for hundreds of years throughout all the nations. Like that, the word, the energy, the spell of the term God that is cast on us comes with all that. And I have another option. I like to use that option. I don't think Allah and think that. You know, it's the same word. So I don't mean to throw anybody off in the public audience when I use it. I just like it better for my vibes, you know? So.
But I feel you, yo, because, thank you for this. Because I'm telling you.
Thank you. Yeah, we got to talk about
I'm really being freed of a lot of shit right now. Because I'm and I say this to like people I have this conversation about like my kind of journey with. Because I don't know if you know, I was in a cult for about.
No, I feel like I saw you mention this on social media somewhere, bro.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah, I'll talk about it anytime anybody wants to talk about it.
Bro, I got questions. I need to finish this point before I get to that, but I do have questions. But continue what you're going to say.
But basically, after coming out of the cult, and even to this day now, it's so crazy. I'm so thankful y'all are here. Because I'm like, I've gotten around to use. Remember how earlier, matter of fact, in the first part of this, I was like, I pray to a God, but I was like, I don't really know, like,
Right.
because the word God has been so stained in my life that,
Yes,
like,
sir.
at its core atomic level, I know I fuck with God on the heaviest level.
Yes, sir.
And I know God fucks with me on the heaviest
Absolutely.
level.
Yes, sir.
But even as I say that, not the fuck part.
Yes, sir.
The God part in me strikes more of a cringe these days
Yes,
than
sir.
me saying fuck.
Yes, sir.
And that is a wild concept.
Yes,
to
sir.
me.
Yes, sir.
But it's like,
You're not alone, bruh. Come on.
and
It's 2022.
Right.
We got TikTok. You know what I'm saying? These
And-
babies ain't talking about no God, bro.
right.
Yeah.
And I really want to. It's almost like you're making me want to, like, I want to say a lot. Like,
Yes, sir.
because like it's crazy, man. There's this dude at work. His name is Abdul, and we've been cool for about 3 years now. And whenever I see him, I'm like, "Yo, how's it going?"
Yes, sir.
Alhamdulillah.
Every time.
It doesn't matter the day, hour, second, the weather. He always says that, and it's gotten to a point now where I say when he sees me, I'm feeling alhamdulillah.
Yes,
you
sir.
know?
Yes, sir.
And it's like, to me, that it, like, if I were talking to the Brandon that was in class with you in 2008,
Yeah.
to hear me say that, I would have been like, if I could have seen myself in the future, I would have probably went home and be like, hey, y'all, like, parent, like, mom and dad, like, do you think I'm gonna be okay when I get
Yes,
older?
sir. Yes,
You know what I'm
sir.
saying? Just because of the subconscious, anything growing up Christian, to me, from my perspective, when I hear about any other religion, but especially the word Islam, because also growing up,
Come on, we had 9/11 to help us
I was
out.
just about to say,
They
the
helped us
imagery,
out, bro. Yeah.
Yeah,
Got some turbans and la 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 la.
Yeah, it
blowing up
got
these
swept with the
airplanes.
sweep.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't let it go.
Yeah, everything
Yes,
got
sir.
swept with the sweep.
Yes,
And so
sir.
now, like, here I am, 2022. I feel like every moment I'm like at my strongest I've ever been with God.
Yes,
but
sir.
I really want to start saying Allah, just for freedom's sake.
Come on, bro. Say, look, you wouldn't be alone. There's billions of Muslims on this planet. Now, a lot of us is tripping, because you look at some of these problems. If you really understood the concepts of Islam, I don't think it would be a whole bunch of Muslims killing each other. Period. So some of us got a little bit twisted, and we can get into that later. But you wouldn't be alone is my point. From the American standpoint, I still have to work on this of thinking that all the people in the world are Christian, and I'm weird for
Yeah.
believing more information than this information these Europeans gave us. No, I'm not weird. Most of the people on this planet believe other than that.
And that-
most, like, we are the minority. It's just hard for me to think like that because I spent so much time here.
Yo,
So
I had this conversation earlier. I'm like with Tony,
yeah,
the boss.
Yeah, yes, sir.
I was like, yo, for some reason, about the last 2 months, I've really been thinking to myself, like, I could see myself in another country. And it's wild because, like, we were just taught growing up, this is the land of the free think,
Yes, sir.
free speech,
Ha.
free thought, free
That's-
think. We can free think,
It's very
freely
cute.
think.
Right.
Yeah. And now it's all being exposed to, like, yo, like, this place has got some juju, if
Yes,
you
sir.
will.
Yeah.
But with that said, there's a piece of me just on some history shit, and this will be real quick because I want to get back to the just.
No. I'm not gonna forget. We good.
I be like, I just have this strong theory that a lot of black people are Native Americans, and this is really
Yes,
our
sir.
land,
That's
and,
real.
and it really frustrates me, and that's the shit that makes me not want to
Yes,
leave.
sir. Yes, sir.
But, like, just from a
Yes,
piece,
sir.
you
Yes,
know,
sir.
y'all ain't gonna kick me off my goddamn land.
Right. Come on.
But
yes, sir.
But with that said, I want to at least. I think I would. This conversation is freeing.
Yes, sir.
I want to live somewhere else
That's real.
to
Come
see
on.
and be amongst other people who realize that it's common thought for them to think not the way I think and not the
Yes,
way I
sir.
was taught. Because every day I get older, I'm like, yo, like, it's like cognitive dissonance every day because
sir.
you just when you come across information, you're just like, oh my god. The only reason I'm holding on to this is because I've subscribed to this for years,
Right.
and it's just neurological pathways at this point
Right.
that I'm fighting.
Yes, sir.
And help me.
Look,
Help me, please.
No, we on the same page, bro. I'm where you are. This is another one of the reasons why I registered with the Nation of Islam at the beginning of the pandemic. I didn't know it was going to be a pandemic, but it's like I registered and like 2 weeks later, everything shut down, bro, in LA. It was a wrap. And but this is one of the things that pushed me. It was primarily my wife because, look, let me go back because I got to make the other point first. We'll come back to this. But I'm going to remember that piece about traveling.
Yeah.
And wanting to travel and experience the world because, man, the world belongs to us, bro. But it's how we go that determines our success. From what I'm seeing, it's how we go out there. And so I have something I wanted to add to your point. But let me go back to what I was saying about the concept of Satan. Because I was seeing in the teachings in the Nation of Islam, we have this explanation of the origin of what we call the devil that we're dealing with now. And there's a phrase that has been around and attributed to black Muslims in America, the white man's the devil. It's interesting. It's very interesting because we as a people haven't really looked up into what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad meant when he was saying that. We just kind of cast it as, that's hate speech, that's mean, we love everybody, blah, 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 blah. It ain't that dumb. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What he's saying is very simple, but it's not dumb. That is dumb. To think that anybody that has white skin is by default a bad person doesn't make no sense.
Right.
Explain my family members killing each other.
Right.
That look darker than me. Come on. But the explanation that we get with this 666 concept is what I'm adding to. The explanation that we get is that God decided at a certain point, we need to understand what happens if we fully go with the flesh. We just need to know. Because God is the God of knowing everything, never satisfied with the lack of knowledge. He said, we're gonna take a break from doing all this peace stuff, and we're gonna see what we build, what happens when we give Satan freedom to reign. You know, there's this part of me that is self-serving and has no desire for peace and accord. I'm gonna let that rule for a period of time to see what happens. And we're dealing with that now. And so the concept of the white man being the devil is, quite simply, there was a man along this process that created them through a concept of birth control, of killing the darker babies, saving the lighter babies, forcing them as they grew up, the two lighter ones, to mate and then repeat that process for a series of years until you have white people. Now, here's the thing. You might say that sounds crazy. White people don't think that sounds crazy. White people don't think that sounds crazy. I'm talking the people that we're trying to protect by saying that sounds crazy don't think that sounds crazy because it's not crazy. And most of us haven't had the opportunity to take some of the courses that I've taken. Genetics, I love. My mom, that's actually the field she's worked in since we lived in North Carolina. You know, when she finally took a job, she worked in that field. But I started to study it when I went to the School of Science and Math. I think there's a reason why most of us don't have access to genetics courses, because you start to find what I'm talking about to be real. Also, I took this course called Africa 1, Africa 2, which is really, it's really, what's the word of the study of the history of humanity? It's like
not anthropology.
Anthropology,
Okay, yeah.
Exactly. It's like in the School of Science and Math, it was like anthropology for black people in Africa. But it's funny because that is anthropology. It's like that Africa ended up just being the study of all people because it's all starts in Africa. It's such a weird concept, and it was taught by 2 white women. It was just so weird. But my point is, this is my point. Like, again, I was pushing myself to go to the edge of what white folks had to offer us in knowledge to see, is the Nation of Islam tripping? They're not, bro. Even now, the studies are coming out that white people understand something weird happened really, really quickly for black skin to then start to be lighter. Not exactly sure what it was, and we got all these theories, but it was way faster than it should have been. And it was so abrupt, and it was in a specific area and location. Bro, it mirrors what Master Farrakhan Muhammad was saying happened to create these white people bar for bar. Like, if y'all talking this mystical, something mystical weird happened, and then white people came. And it had to happen with these certain sets of stipulations. This story that I'm telling you that's in the teachings, it matches. Y'all went to an island you had to control, where you took those black people, you had them buy into this idea, like a cult, where we gonna make a different type of people that are gonna then rule everybody else on a system of tricks and lies. We're gonna see how that works. Bro, it's fascinating. This is in Message to the Black Man. When I read that, it really also changed my perspective on the concept of the white man's the devil, because it shows you very clearly, if you understand what I just said, there are children, bruh. That's why I was saying earlier, when you really get to the end of what they have to offer us, you find white people are our genetic children. They're our descendants. They're us. They just got lighter skin. They're us. They have lighter skin, and they were made through a process that explains slavery. Because we asked ourselves, why would God do this to us? Bro, we did it to them. We had to do it to them. That type of process, I mean, imagine. It's the same thing they did to us when we were enslaved. It doesn't matter who you're married to. You're having sex with this person because we have this thing to achieve. You know, and matter of fact, it doesn't matter how your relationship is to your children. We're shipping you over here to this plantation because we have this thing to achieve. They're doing business. We was doing business in the process that Master Farrakhan Muhammad outlines of creating white people. The type of anger that you would have to anybody of a darker skin complexion if they put you through that type of process, that would last a long time. See, these things helped me to start to see, wait a minute, maybe this all makes a little more sense. Maybe I'm not just the victim. Maybe I'm responsible for my own salvation and success. And it's not just the man. So when you think about it, the concept fully, if you have a little bit more of the context, the concept of the white man as a devil actually gives white people their respect. And it gives us the ability to take charge of our responsibility. Because it's not about them just being bad people off rip. It's about we created them to be a negative thing. It was on us that we created them to be hurtful, driven from a place of spite. And then when you move and look through historically, as you know, everywhere this bright-skinned person touched down,
yeah,
man, they turn it up and turn it out. Yeah. And they somehow ended up ruling every time. We did that. And this is also parallel with the other message in the Message to the Black Man, which is the black man is God. It makes sense. Because there are no white people. Now, this is tough. This is tough to see. This is where it gets kind of, it's so simple, but it can seem so ridiculous to think that we are one in the terms that I'm describing.
Right.
Because I'm not just saying, oh, all humans are humans. No, I'm saying we made white people. So they're our children. So if we mad at them, we're mad at something that's in us. The only way they came was from out of us. So each and every one of us is a white person. So what's a white person? Is it just, oh, my skin's lighter? We're identifying people that went through this process and separating them. But ultimately, even though we didn't necessarily go through that process, through the process of slavery, we were made more into them than we are ourselves. So psychologically, even though we can have dark skin, there's a lot of white people. And I mean that differently than they would call me in high school. People would call me like an Oreo in high school, like, oh, he's black, white, and stuff like that. But they meant it as a compliment, meaning, oh, he's really smart, so he's like white, but he's black.
Right. Yeah.
Like this is all backwards, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in reality, what's really what I have learned to be true is that in reality, we're white black people in accepting white supremacy as the core of our fundamental principles and beliefs. Whether that's conscious or subconscious, we really believe that the white man is God. And the white man believes that the white man is God. And that we are just niggas. See, that can't work. If we made white people, then we have to be God over them. Because that concept doesn't exist outside of its creator. So it's a very backwards type of thinking. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So my point is the 666 concept for me also parallels with that understanding of we created a people that was made to rule out of flesh. But that's not who we are. And It's not working because we're doing something that was only meant to happen for a time. And so Elijah Muhammad teaches that we gave them 6,000 years to rule. And that time was up. That time was up in like 1918, I think he said it was. It's 2022, so we just late. We out here like, we been free from these white folks. We been free from the concept of evil ruling things and having this time to be out here and to kill all of our prophets and to make all this evil. At this point, it's just us perpetuating the problem. It is not about white people anymore, and it hasn't been for a minute. And for me, that rings true. Because I look around, bro, and yeah, these problems were started by a certain individual. But we're keeping them alive.
I agree with that 100%.
I'm done.
Well, no.
Oh, man. I know you had another point you wanted to make, too. This is heavy. We need some, like, sound effects.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm interested in your thoughts on the white people thing, but I don't think this is going to happen today.
Right. Well,
this is a big thing. I mean,
well, I have a theory that I feel like your theory works with. Well, I don't want to call it. I'm sorry. I call everyone's thoughts theories.
No,
I'm sorry.
please do.
I mean no disrespect, brother.
No, please do. Please do. That's important. Like, don't take my word for nothing, bro. You do your due diligence and you make your decisions based on facts. But I want to. Let's preface where we came from, right? We came from Holly Springs, North Carolina. Right.
Say,
man.
Yeah.
These are some of the most. It's like as far as white people are concerned, it's a mixed bag of extremely liberal, by the social sense of the term, and extremely conservative white people. I mean, I grew up getting called nigga at school by white people. I got a chance to experience that. So I know how far away slavery is. It ain't. We still in it. And then don't we already have an episode on,
yeah,
what's really going on with the slavery thing. It is literally, but it is socially as well.
Yeah.
So we come from this. We come from a place where we got a chance to experience white people and before the Me Too and the Black Lives Matter and all that type of stuff. When we was coming up, it was a little bit more raw of the ignorance. However, they were taught by their parents at home, it would kind of come up in Holly Springs a little bit more often. Yeah. So we have a little bit more data to put on this board.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of I really want to explain quickly, like, because what you're saying, like, about white people being created, and you said 6,000 years.
Yes, sir.
Because I just have this theory that.
Yeah, line up the time.
I have this theory that the same way, basically everything's a circle.
Yes, sir. Oh man, you on it, bro.
Yeah.
Yo,
I'm-
you gotta study these teachings, bro. You gonna learn more than I do.
I'm telling you, you about to make me convert.
Lord.
The same way a day moves. Well, say right now it's almost midnight.
Yes, sir.
I move up to.
Bro, I can't do this. You're on it, bro. You
Yeah,
figured it out.
Yeah, it'll.
Man, okay, come on, go ahead. I'm gonna shut up. I'm sorry.
Nah, you straight. Dawn, midday to its peak, back down, bam. Moon cycle does the exact same thing. A year cycle does the exact same thing. So now when I think about astrological ages,
Come on, bro.
I look around me and I'm like, the definition of a hypothesis, scientific, you just observation. I'm just making a guess based off of observations.
Right.
So I'm like, well, if everything else moves in this circular motion, chakras are circles.
Come on.
Time has to move on a grand scale the same way. And so I'm thinking about it like this. I'm like, well, people of melanin, people of the sun, we thrive in the sun.
Right.
We would not thrive in the cold.
Right.
So then I think to myself, on a grand scale, if ages are moving like this in a circular direction, I'm like, I wonder if weather did the same. I wonder if there were warmer periods on Earth because, we were taught there's an ice age.
Right.
So I think to myself, bring it back up to 6,000. And I don't know how long. I'm not one of those people. I don't know like dates as far as ice ages and things. I just feel like my theory on a grand scale is that there was once a time when it was warmer, the consciousness was higher, and people of melanin thrived. And if time goes back down, if all things inevitably move in a circle, then there had to be a time when things got colder.
Yes.
I believe when things got colder, that's when things got colder. I think that's when that was the fall of the black man. And so like I don't know timelines and dates necessarily like of what I would pinpoint it to, but hearing what you say about the creation, I just feel like I would be willing to subscribe to that. Well, it's like to at least look into and really subscribe to, because I feel like that I can see that happening in that window of time I was talking about where things get colder. But like you were saying, Mr. Farrakhan has alluded to, and I feel like Jesus alluded to in I believe it was Luke 22:10 when he told the disciples this the night before he was murdered,
Yes, sir.
hung on the cross, lynched.
Right.
And Jesus represented by the fish, I think of the age of Pisces. So I'm like, was Jesus telling his disciples when he told them to go to the next town and find a man carrying a pitcher of water? I'm like, I wonder if Jesus was alluding to the end of an astrological age, the age of Pisces, and then the beginning of the age of Aquarius, represented by the man carrying a pitcher of water. And so I wonder, and then I think to myself, is that time that he was talking about right now, this time where, because if you think about the beginning of a day, there's light.
Right.
If you think about the beginning of a year, the real beginning of a year, springtime, light. When I think about light, I think about consciousness.
Right.
I think about awakening. And I just sit back and I'm like, was the rule of the white man and just this evil just period on earth where now we look around and vanity and the praising of flesh is all around. I'm like, I wonder if this is the last of the dark end of a grand day, if you will.
Look, that's beautiful. Now, yes. Look into what I'm telling you from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because I think that you particularly will get more out of lining up the time than the average person because of your mathematical expertise. Because it's very specific. It's like, no, this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. And it's almost to the point where I was talking to my man's Asmar, one of my favorite people on this planet. Educated at Yale and Harvard. Man is crazy genius. He's like you.
Oh, I ain't going to. I went to UNCG.
Look, no, but here's the thing. He's going for he's going for Black history, basically. He's really mastering what is the history, like what I did with math and science, but history. Going to the ends of what white folks have to offer us. I mean, you can't get higher than that.
Yeah,
Like,
literally.
what do y'all know about who we are? Right? Asking him. And he came back around to saying, dang, and Kenji, and that's a private conversation. I pray that he would be fine with me sharing this. And, he was like, I find it interesting that we don't really have any peer-reviewed studies of the teachings of Master Farrakhan Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, when it's very specific historical accounts of things that somehow seem to be lining up. Why is it that we don't have this as a scientific community, as a real conversation pieces to at least describe or determine whether or not they're tripping and crazy? What's weird? What's wrong? What's so bad about, or what's so uninteresting about it? What is it? What is it? It just doesn't make sense. I mean, we have hellified studies of the boiling of eggs. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Of all the things, why is it that we are pushed away in a way from studying the teachings of the Nation of Islam? And it's deep. When he was making that point, I was learning the same thing on my side. I'm like, nah, this is too big for it to just be a coincidence that we aren't really talking about it. And by the we, now I'm not talking about those of us that aren't in control. I'm talking about those of us that are in control of the affairs of the evils of this government, that the universal government that is present between the Americas and the Russias, that government, not the layer above it, but that government. It's not an accident. It's impossible to be an accident. These people want to know everything. There's no way it's an accident that they're just not talking about these teachings, bro. So my point is, it's really on us. People like Reza Islam, I mean, it's not funny. It's my brother. And he would laugh too. I mean, I know him personally. He would laugh at this. But it's like, we try to go up and inform people of like, hey, there's these teachings, this is what it says. This is verbatim, bar for bar. And then the more popular you get, you already know there's a timer, bro. At some point, because you're saying Nation of Islam too much, they're literally going to delete your accounts and shut you down, bro. Like, that's the whole process. And the beautiful thing about being in the age of information, okay, if we can all see this is happening, maybe we should be paying attention to what it is that we're getting shut down trying to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, how evil can a book be? It's not like we're reading out spells that's going to turn people into frogs or something. Like,
Right.
Look and find out if it doesn't make sense or does it not. And then if it's stupid, throw it away, move on. But don't just be dumb. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
We've done a whole bunch of that, choosing to be more afraid of, what if I know what this Elijah Muhammad person was on? Choosing to be afraid of the what if you know versus just knowing. Because these white people know. They know. And many of them are now starting to bear witness and agree with the information that's presented. And they're saying things like, the navy bean's actually a pretty healthy, regenerative, that's not a good enunciation of that word, but the navy bean, you probably should check it out. Things like, you know what, let's check out the OMAD diet. What's the OMAD? 1 meal a day? Are you serious? This is this is literally straight out the books of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Like, they're taking everything and treating it like it's Times Square. Gentrification. Anything that came from the teachings, they're like, that kind of makes sense. Like, in the teachings, we have an understanding of where the moon came from, right? And again, it sounds crazy until you actually study what white scientists have to say, and they come to the same place. We don't know. We got a bunch of theories. Damn, how do you not know? It's a moon. The Nation of Islam said that one of our scientists, many hundreds of thousands of years ago, blew it up out of the earth. It's the earth, and it was blown off of the earth with high explosives. And then the water from that part of the earth fell down to the earth that we have now. Bro, that can sound insane to someone that hasn't studied advanced physics, astrophysics. I have. It makes total sense. When you look at the math and the physics of it, absolutely. And then when you look at the more recent studies that white folks are putting out as far as where the moon could have came from, they have this weird impact theory now where it's just like, oh yeah, no, something like some big explosion happened and then it came off the earth. It's like, bruh, what? I mean, y'all late. You late. Like this, and it's weird because you'll say things and you come up with these big, amazing discoveries and revelations when this stuff was given to us in 1930 by this Master Farrakhan Muhammad dude who disappeared, and the FBI had mad paper written up on him, and they still don't know where that man went. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's too weird to not check out. So I say all that to say, coming back on over to the understanding of the concept of white people, I just wanted to add, when we look at our responsibility as, young people coming up in this world, if we are God, and we are, God's about unity. And the only way we're going to be able to solve certain problems is if there's a universal cooperation of like-minded people. And it's got to start from strength to strength. Like, the reason I'm here talking to you, it's got to be like this. The information flow that you're talking about, the cyclical approach of life, that's real. But that has to continue between individuals and between nations. And that's the point of the Nation of Islam, is a hub for all of humanity. The point of the nation is to connect everyone, not to divide people. It's to make sure that the information is flowing. So, and I know when you look through the teachings, you'll realize a certain piece. And my wife was saying earlier, you should check out Jabril Muhammad. He's in every Final Call newspaper, and Farrakhan the Traveler. But check him out on YouTube. There's like maybe 3 or 4 videos of this man speaking. He goes to the blackboard in one of his series and kind of just sketches out over the course of a few hours what the timeline is of the teachings of Master Farrakhan Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He sketched out the timeline for you. And we're talking like, it's not like the beginning of time until now. Like when time started. We're talking that far back. Like, what happened at the beginning of time, the first Adam, all the way until it's such a masterful piece, but it's really all already in the books. If you read the books that we're given, it's there, but it's not written like that. It's not written in a very, it's not written linearly, if you will. But he does it linearly for you in a way that I think someone like you would appreciate, someone that has a mastery of time and mathematics, because otherwise it's just kind of like you would go to sleep. So my point is, if we understand that things are cyclical, there's this piece of where the Bible come from that we all have to get down. I mean, I think we all run into this, being Christians, being whatever we believe in. And if you don't believe in the Bible, you still don't believe because you have to deal with where did it come from?
Yeah.
And this piece is explaining the teachings as well. It is a cycle of time, but we write our time in advance and then we walk into it. It makes perfect sense. Because like what you're saying about infinity, the numbers keep on going. But technically, if you're at 101,092,000, you know what comes next is 101,093,000. Technically.
Yes. Yes.
And you can scale that up by hundreds, by thousands. If you're moving through time, the pattern is the pattern. If we're moving by hundreds, after 100, it'll be 200. It's going to go on infinitely. You don't know what the biggest number is, but whatever it is, the next number after that. See, so if that's the way time is, our information is that as well. So what I learned when I'm looking through the teachings is that the Bible came from the same book. See, it's interesting because in the Quran it mentions the Bible as a Quran. And in the Bible it mentions coming out of another book, the big book, the scriptures that we're getting from the Bible. But the concept that I'm saying is it's an infinite stream of wisdom that we pass down to each other through series of generations.
Right.
So whatever we got when we got the Torah is continued. It's the same book as what we get when Jesus showed up when we get the New Testament. It's the same book as when we get when Muhammad showed up with the Quran. It's all building on each other. And then there's books after it just keeps going. The revelation is never ending. So this cycle is all mathematical. And if you understand what the pattern is, you can really predict where you're at and what the future's going to be. But that I'm going to leave that there because I'm taking way too long to exercise these points. So yeah, ask me some questions.
Nah, you straight. Shit, I'm thinking on shit.
Yeah. I hope I'm not getting too lost in the sauce here. I'm trying to make points.
This
I feel
is
like
the sauce.
this is good. Okay. I'm trying to speak to things that I notice that a lot of us think about, but we don't really talk about. That's it. Because a lot of these pieces, the reason why we don't talk about them is we don't have no answers. My mom talks about that's how she got to the point where she did with the Nation of Islam when she was willing to check it out. Because my dad found the teachings, I think it was 1988 or 89. And they were both coming from Christian households. And then he married my mom. And my sister was born in 92. And I was born in 93. By the time I was born, they had already been like tossing around these ideas like, man, this stuff kind of makes sense, right? So, but how they even got there, I asked her one day, why did you even consider this stuff? And she was like, well, I started asking questions. And I always have. When I was younger, I started asking questions, and I kept doing it. But there was limits to my questions. Where in the church, it would just be this buffer response of almost don't ask questions. With certain things that you don't have an answer to, it wasn't, you know what, there's an answer, I just don't know. It was almost like slapping you in the hand, you foolish for even considering that this might not be whatever I'm telling you. I don't need to know. It's just the spirit. These types of things that don't really give you logical, substance. And so she got tired of it. And then when my dad showed up, it was kind of right on time because he's coming with this other information saying, hey, this information fills some of those gaps that I had when I was growing up in church. And she's looking at it like, hey, that fills some of my gaps too. Well, shoot, maybe this makes sense. You see what I'm saying? Those are the things I'm trying to talk about here. Because we all talk about, damn, how did God just let white people run havoc on us through slavery? Why would he do that? God wouldn't do that. There can't be God. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all talk about these different concepts, but we don't talk about them out enough. Because it always ends up being man, why would he do that? Oh, man, I don't know. We just got to keep praying and believing and da-da-da-da. But I like facts, man. I like numbers. I like being able to write it down and say A squared plus B squared equals C squared, you know? All right, I'm going to shut up now.
Shit. Yo. I want to lie, man. You got. I got some shit to think about when I get home. Yes, like that's what I'm thinking about. I'm like, I got some shit to think about.
Man, our phrases do to a lot, bro. This is great. Do you have anything that's big that you think I need to answer to as far as to your listening audience or any question you just have for me? To close this thing, 'cause I thought we done slapped people in the face with quite a few.
Yeah, you slap after people. You slap me.
no.
In the damn face.
I'm
Shit.
sorry, man.
No, in a good way. I'm sitting over here like, I gotta go back and watch to see what my face been like. For the past 30 minutes, I've been in some deep ass, like, I guess man, this was good.
Yes, sir. I'm enjoying myself. If you can't tell,
yeah,
I could be here for 4 hours just talking. Cause this is what I live to share. At this point. This is what I'm here for.
But that's kind of what's been on my mind this whole time. It's like, ever since you went through the dimension diagram,
yes, sir,
that kind of has my mind like, cause I've been in this weird state the past like month, And I just been thinking like, bro, I have to get out of a box. There's a box I can tell I have to get out of. And so when you started talking about dimensions, I started like, then my mind kind of went to this place of like, all right, because talking about the Nation of Islam is just, it's so wild. Like this is the like longest conversation. This is probably really the only conversation I've ever really had about it. And
Yes,
it's
sir.
wild because it kind of represents like, as I'm talking right now, I'm realizing like, damn, kind of like how you were saying points and squares and rectangles are
Yes, sir.
technically everywhere, but
Yes,
they're
sir.
nowhere at the same time because they're
Right.
concepts.
Right. Right.
This box concept of like thought, it's so crazy to me because I'm like sitting here talking about this and like being honest, feeling like this innate part of me wanting to not even like not to want to consider it.
Right.
It's wild because it's like,
Right.
why would I not want to consider it? But then like it's then I think to myself, well, it's because you were taught a certain way.
Yes, sir.
But it's deeper than Christianity.
Right.
It's much deeper than Christianity. It's like it's the way of the world.
That's what Mariah said. That's what my wife told me. See, I'm glad this came back up. 'Cause I forgot to talk about this. So my father on my wife's side is a pastor. Very, very, very respected man in DC and Maryland. And is a strong pastor of his church, his congregation. Mariah is a pastor's child. You understand? I am a registered member of the Nation of Islam. In the fruit of Islam, the FOI, in the military wing of it. I'm very serious. You know, like I'm fully subscribed to what I'm studying. How does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Like, how is my wife my wife? But
Right.
what happened with her was she clicked and realized what you just said. The teachings of the Nation of Islam, it ain't about Christian versus Muslim. It's bigger than all that. This is a study of the story of humanity. That's what she said, the story of humanity. And I never thought about it like that. Then I realized
that's exactly
that's
what the hell's happening, right?
That's why it's not weird that you could have what you would consider to be an interfaith relationship. Because it's bigger than all that. You start to realize, well, dang, I don't have to move. I don't like we were talking about earlier, converting. I am not converting from being a Christian into this crazy stuff and Kenzie's talking about. I'm just getting above this three-dimensional object to see what
every time you stand up,
see what it really is. Like I was looking at it like this, but now I can see, oh wait, that's what's going. It doesn't change this. It's not like saying, okay, I saw the world as lines like this. Now I see worlds as shorter lines. Like, no, you're starting to realize that the world is actually this.
Okay.
So you don't have to. You're not changing your belief. It's the subconscious underlying truth that always was there. You feel me? Okay.
Yeah, this feels like a shroom trip. This is wild. That's exactly what it is. That's that's what it is. It's like I'm realizing in the past 2 hours I've realized this shit isn't a damn religion.
No. Not in that term.
To break down basically what my mind's been going through. It's like, wow, this is not a religion by any means. But it's almost like it's been put into a rectangle, and I've just been looking at it as a rectangle.
Right.
But there are third and fourth and fifth and sixth dimensions to this.
Exactly.
And it's like,
it's more of from a European concept of like things and structures that they've created. It's more of a classroom. It's more of a classroom than anything. It's a military, but it's more of a classroom. Because in the Nation of Islam, we are not permitted to carry as much as a penknife. We're not permitted to carry any weapons. No, nothing, brother. We in LA, South Central, walking the streets with bow ties, and people they pull up.
Oh, you be in bow ties?
Oh, yes.
Yo, ooh,
bro.
I love niggas like you.
We be deep in the HOOD. I mean, hood. I mean, I be by myself sometimes with some of the people that really will take your head off. You know, no weapons. It's just God. Because love will disarm anyone if you have God on your side, period. Ain't nothing between me and getting shot. I mean, these people got Dracos with their PPP money. You know what I'm saying? Like but these are my people, and I'm not gonna let fear stop me from reaching them with that final call. You know, I'm just not gonna do it. So my point is, it's a military. The FOI is defined as, you know, the name of the military that's given to the men that belong to Islam. But it's more of a classroom first, because the weapons we're using aren't carnal. It's knowledge and love and truth and all these principalities, you know, that Jesus spoke of.
I was about to say,
that's what we using.
This sounds a lot like Jesus and Paul's writings.
That's what we doing. The whole point of the Nation of Islam is to make a whole bunch of Jesuses. That's it. Because I'm sorry, man, every time I'm in the streets, they be looking at me talking about, damn, where's the church? I'm telling the same streets that got 4 or 5 different churches. They're not in the hood. You feel me? Like, this is the problem. We all are here to do a work of Jesus, but we just got to do it. And if you find a brother with a bow tie doing it a little more than you are, well, maybe we're Christians too. And you just don't understand. Maybe we're Christians too. Let me be quiet before I get in trouble.
Yo. Thank you for this.
Thank you. I love you, man.
I love you. I love you for loving him. Because this is like, I got shit to think about, dog. I know it's an ignorant, after all this intelligence, leave it to a nigga, but damn, I got some shit to think about.
It's
in a good way. Like,
yes, sir.
And I know there's no converting.
No.
But just for the sake of that story I was telling you.
Yes, sir.
To wrap this all up. And y'all got to come back by. This is just part one.
We'll
because y'all bought Coastal.
We'll be back. Yes, sir.
After watching that documentary in 2015, and they said that Akeem Olajuwon talked to Vernon Maxwell, one of the most hot-headed players in the NBA, for 2 hours. And he came and told his teammates, bro, Vernon Maxwell, Mad Max, his nickname, and said, yo, I'm about to convert. You really got me think, like, I'm excited to go home and just view myself from the 4th dimension.
Yes, sir. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, bro.
Yo.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a closing statement?
Man, I just want to thank God. That's it, man. I never understood fearing God until I was reading this one passage in the Quran. Was it last year? It was during Ramadan, I think 2 years ago. And it was talking about what I was sharing with you earlier in this conversation, how, you know, Allah will give you whatever, but he can also take it all away. And the conversation about how, you know, he'll let you have a lot just to see what you're going to do with it. This is in the Quran a lot. This whole game that Allah will play with us, where he'll give you children and things and stuff and all your dreams in the world just to see, you know, what you going to do with it. And then if you choose to be selfish, if you choose to ignore him, and if you choose not to give thanks to the spirit of truth that gave you what you have, and choose to think of, oh, I got these things of myself, then they'll take you to the lowest parts of hell. You know, and then overlaying that with what I have from the teachings of the Nation of Islam, understanding that hell is a state of living and not just a place you go when you die, but you live that thing. And the same thing with heaven. I started to really understand what it means to fear God. This is a very recent occurrence. I think I was 27. I'm 28 now. That's a long time to go in life talking about, oh, I only fear God. In the nation, we say we fear no God but Allah and all that stuff. That's a long time to say something and not even understand at a deep level to myself what I'm saying. But I started to realize, like I was saying earlier, dang, Allah done blessed me with so much knowledge and wisdom and command over my emotions and able to like step above my traumas and deal with them in a better way than those surrounding me and my family. And so I didn't have to do that, man. I didn't have to have the information that I have. I didn't have to be blessed to run into the certain people that decided to derail their whole life to help me out in certain way. None of that had to go down. So I know my head is on that chopping block, you know. It just, and that's when I really started to feel afraid of God for real. When I really started to realize how, man, this man he's floating me through all these traps of evil, and I'm not getting nothing clipped off. And I'm like, hell, if I just once you know, it's like, golly, let me stay in this thing because I know this is the only thing keeping me up. You know, let me say. So I have to thank God for guiding me to be able to have conversations like this. Because I tell you, man, I wouldn't have nothing to say if it wasn't for Allah. And I have to say Allah who came in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad, because this is the understanding that I have direct and not through somebody's transliteration of who God is.
Yeah.
And then a translation of the transliteration, and then an exegesis of the translation of the transliteration. It's like, golly, it doesn't align and justify slavery. It explains it. And from my understanding of God before the teachings, God aligned and justified slavery, but didn't explain it. Like, no, it's fine. It's fine. You're supposed to, slaves, it's fine. It's good. Obey your master. But how did I get in this position? Don't worry about it. I don't know. Stuff happens. God works in mysterious ways. I'm like, okay, bro, that's not how that should go down. So again, I want to leave this with thanks for God and thanking you, brother, for bringing me on your program and allowing me to, man, just allowing me to love up on you, man. Because look, in this world, man, sometimes we can be so desensitized to good, And whenever I looked at you, I've always looked up to you and admired you as a brother and as a friend. And I almost felt scared to sometimes let you know that I love you. But I got to a point where I realized, no, I just got to tell him anyways. Because, shoot, you only live one time. Right. So thank you for accepting that.
Shout out Drake.
Yes, sir. Thank you for accepting that. Thank you for bringing me on. I look forward to coming back, man. I look forward to building with you. And all praises due to Allah.
Hey, man. I appreciate everything, for real, man. I appreciate y'all stopping by. Y'all told me about y'all started in North Carolina today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you still got to drive 3 hours?
Hey, man.
Man.
Tis what it is.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yo,
man.
Thank you for being such a lovely wife, coming by, sit here for 2 hours while niggas talk and catch up. I really appreciate it, for real.
Man, we didn't even talk about business. Man, we doing all types of business. We out here making money and building things in the entertainment industry. I want to know more about what you got going on, but this will have to be a part 2.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I'm glad we started where we started. What we talked about is more important than getting money.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get that next time. Yeah, but man, I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Till next time.
Yes, sir.
Do before you die. Not do or die. Oh, I was talking to the camera, sorry. But if we're recording. But yeah, do before you die. It's not do or die. Nobody makes that alive. Catch you on the flip.
Peace.
Okay.
Woo, man. Shoot. Some of what I was saying, bro, I was just feeding off your energy so much, and I didn't know where some of that stuff was coming from, man. It was just like different things I was reading. I'm like, oh, he needs to know this. He needs to know that.